The USA is stockpiling talent in the English second division. Is João Pedro the Russ from Mighty Ducks 2? And we learn about the new club in USL 1, AV Alta. That and more on Wednesday's Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favoriteest country. Coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Robert Kerr, American soccer commentator. He's Jason Davis, the man with a very silky voice. How you doing, Jason?
Silky voice and bad opinions. That's what I've been accused of having, Rob.
How dare you pull the curtain back on such
we might touch on some things later in the show, maybe a little bonus after the show. Stay tuned for extra time on Morning Kickaround if you want Jason to get a little hot about the way people are portraying some things we've done on this show recently. But that's okay. We got other stuff going on. I'll tease that, and we'll get to what we've got in this show. Big show today.
I don't know. We did not coordinate this, but we're both wearing black today. The dynamic duo here. I'm not familiar with that is. You spend most of your afternoons on the radio, so people can't see your shirt. So tell us now here on YouTube.
Oh, this is my Nashville SC Johnny Cash shirt. Have you not? I believe I've worn it on the show before, but this is the Men in Black Johnny Cash kit. They put my name on the back, so it's got a little extra to it because I don't always have shirts with names on the back or my name on the back, certainly. But yeah, I like this. I mean, there's not a lot to it. It's just black. Like it's just, and with the, the Adidas stripes and the patches and all that stuff. But I dig it. It's got Johnny Cash's signature on it too. So that's cool. Not that he actually signed it, but they printed Johnny Cash's signature on the shirt because I don't think Johnny Cash was around to sign. Let's continue.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if Johnny Cash was in the soccer bubble, but who knows? And you don't often ask, but this is my OCFC staff polo shirt with the OCFC logo on it. Shout out to Hometown Club, last game on Saturday. But we move on. If you are watching this now and you haven't hit subscribe yet, do so now. The numbers are climbing. And as the subscriber numbers climb, this show improves. We get more resources and the conversation gets richer. Just hit that button. Doesn't cost you a darn thing. If you want to take your support of Morning Kickaround up a notch, $3.99 a month for an Morning Kickaround membership. You will become an MK Ultra. Get access to the Discord server with great conversation threads from local soccer all the way up to the international game. Great conversations happening there. You can also support on coffee.com/Morning Kickaround. We got some specific goals, including an on-site appearance and show between the Morning Kickaround crew here. You can also follow along on social media at mkickaround, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, or write us a note. Many of you have. Thank you for doing so. morningkickaround@gmail.com. Thank you to all of our members that have already signed up. Thank you to all of our donators on coffee.com/Morning Kickaround. Thank you so much for that. And last note, we are also a podcast. So look up Morning Kickaround on your favorite podcast platform. We have a great guest at the top of the hour talking about AV Alta. We're going to get into some Open Cup updates. Long balls up next, though. Let's get it started on Morning Kickaround. Long ball number one here on July 9th. I'm Robert. He's Jason. The news fresh in our feeds this morning. American Damian Downs transferred to Southampton in the English second division. So there are quite a few Americans inhabiting the second division as it stands right now. The likes of Josh Sargent, Daryl Dike, Haji Wright. As an American fan, how do you feel about so many players going to the English second division?
Well, let's first address Damian Downs. He's 21. He's played in the second division in Germany, limited amount of experience, 42 first-team appearances in Germany for Köln, and 13 goals, 6 assists. Those are good numbers, especially when we're talking about a relatively young player. I mean, he's not 18, so you would hope that he's far enough along that if Southampton is buying him, and Southampton's a team that went down, but obviously has designs on going right back up, Rob. I mean, this is not an unambitious championship squad, right? They want to get back to the Premier League as soon as possible. He had a moment with the U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup, had a couple chances to maybe make a difference, wasn't really able to. Limited time, right? He didn't get a ton of time. It was odd, that situation being thrown on with Ajamang at the end of that Mexico game as they were trying to figure out how to get a goal back and push that game longer. £7 million. All right. It's not like it's not nothing, but it's obviously not a massive amount of money. So this is they're not taking a flyer on him. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. $7 million is still something when you're a championship side, but it's not like crazy money. It means that he's not going to be overly pressured by the amount of hype that comes with like a £30 million move or something like that, Rob. But it does mean, as you said, there's lots of American forwards now in the English Championship, and there's still a possibility that this summer Patrick Ajamang makes his jump to Europe, and that jump is to the Championship. But I think it's Derby County that has been linked to a move with Ajamang. I think we had heard about this link between Downs and Southampton, coming together over the last couple of weeks. I guess I'm not surprised. I guess it's happening now, but I guess I am surprised it's happening before some other things that have been rumored out there. Ricardo Pepi still doesn't have a new destination. Maybe he stays at Eindhoven this season. Who knows? But I know he's been linked to a move. Obviously, injury is part of his story. Josh Sargent, is he staying at Norwich for another year to try to help them get back up? I guess it's not terrible. Like, it's a sort of a beggars can't be choosers kind of situation. All right, when the United States men's national team in the past was looking for forwards who could score goals, it wasn't always that we could look to a level like the Championship and say, hey, there's a guy over there, and maybe we should include him in our roster. You know, Josh Sargent scores goals in the Championship. He wasn't in the Gold Cup, and that's Mauricio Pochettino's prerogative not to bring him, but I think a lot of people thought, hey, maybe we could have used him. Haji Wright scores goals at Coventry City. Obviously, injuries hurt him in this Gold Cup period. Daryl Dike is not, he's still working his way back to full fitness, and maybe he never will be what we hoped he was going to be, but it's possible that all comes together for him. And now Damian Downs, man, I guess what this means is if you really care about the U.S. men's national team in the forward situation, you need to have the package, or you need to look for the TV streaming service that has championship matches, because you'll always be able to see an American playing in the Championship with this number of guys over there.
Yeah, I think that might be the ESPN 3. That might be the thing you get through Hulu and whatnot.
This is my understanding. Well, I don't know if it's changed, because obviously TV rights sometimes kind of change depending. But my understanding, there is a package that the EFL sells, and ESPN streaming had that, or has a lot of those games. But I think there are also some teams who control their own rights, or there's some other, they don't package everything. It's not all of the games in one big package. So sometimes you'll be like, hey, I want to watch Coventry and Haji Wright. Oh, it's not there.
Yeah, for as established as it is, the TV rights and packaging for the EFL is still pretty archaic to a degree and not quite up with the times. But going back to Damian Downs to Southampton had a very strange year last year. Their perennial yo-yo side, one of the football talent factories of England. Last year was probably the closest to a tank year I can remember in the Premier League. They didn't really seem like they gave it a go. They never really broke out of their philosophy of trying to play it out of the back, even though after like 4 games, it was pretty obvious that they weren't to the level to play like that, but they just continued to run into the wall of conceding goals and losing. So interesting to see if I think some people speculated they got promoted a year early before they were quite ready. And so maybe Damian Downs could be joining the actual full honest thrust to get back into the Premier League. We shall see. But it's interesting that the Americans have found a landing spot in the Championship, but it's an odd place to kind of ply your trade, because obviously you have to be good technically, but it's like an endurance beat 'em up sort of a game. They play more games than even the top level at times, because they have multiple league multiple cups and tournaments in the EFL. Premier League teams don't have, and then there's such a big league. I think there's 46 league games as well.
You play 46. That's the biggest difference. You play 46 league games, right? When you're in a 20-team league, you play 38 games. And then you have the FA Cup, and then you have the League Cup. And then obviously the what?
Like that, there's like the Check a Trade trophy. There's other different tournament competitions that
Check a Trade trophy. I don't know
where it's only EFL teams are in it. Peterborough Posh have won it back-to-back years. That's the tournament that they beat Wrexham in last year.
That's League One and League Two, so that's not. But
I believe there is another cup tournament that
U20. It says U21 teams. I didn't know about this trophy, but U21 teams from the Premier League and the Championship will play. So those are developmental squads from the Championship. The Championship does have lots of games. I mean, the bottom line is they have lots of games. They have 46 league matches, and you're playing those league matches to try to make it either into the playoffs or get automatically promoted. So that's a thing. In terms of obviously the Carabao Cup, the League Cup that we're mentioning, that the FA Cup, everybody in the top, everybody in the league structure in England plays in that tournament, even down to the lower tiers. I think it is. I don't know.
Those games provide an opportunity. There's definitely no lack of opportunity for playing time if you're on a championship side.
Absolutely. But again, I think there's always this sense of, if you succeed in the championship, are you really that good?
True.
Like, are you really that good?
There's a wall.
Now, there are, again, can you level up from there? Of course you can, right? Of course you can level up from there. But I do think there's this sense that you can kind of get stuck in the championship, especially if your team does not get promoted. Or if you are with a team that gets promoted in an era where promoted teams go right back down, Rob, you will go back down. And then if your team doesn't go right back up, you're kind of stuck. I mean, this is Josh Sargent's story. Josh Sargent consistently scores goals in the championship. He's a very good all-around forward, but he hasn't nobody in the Premier League has been like, hey, that's our guy. Let's go get him out of Norwich. Right. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Sargent didn't have a good spell when he was in the Premier League, so that could taint the water a little bit. One last note on Damian Downs, though. Obviously, Ajerman was the go-to pick for Pochettino in the Gold Cup. I'm curious. Obviously, his shortcomings are pretty obvious and well documented. His first touch not well-rounded forward to a complete level. But my question is, what was Damian Downs lacking? If he was a little bit more well-rounded, a little younger, a little bit more technical, how didn't he get some more looks then in that lineup?
Yeah, I think it was the newness, the lack of experience. Well, Ajerman didn't have a lot of experience either, so I guess that really doesn't make sense. I think it's the physicality. I think it's the style of play, and whatever it is, Damian Downs wasn't a guy that Pochettino thought was a starting level player. I can't tell you. I mean, it's just he locked in on that lineup, particularly at the end of that tournament, and we ended up with the same group 3 times in a row. And then, of course, losing in a final. And, it's really hard. You can criticize some of the decisions in the final that Pochettino made, but it's really hard to criticize him for the overall performance in the tournament, because they made the final with a team that was missing a bunch of players who would be there if this was a World Cup.
Moving along to long ball number 2 here today. The Club World Cup semifinals had their first game yesterday. Chelsea defeating Fluminense 2-0 with 2 goals from new signing João Pedro. Kind of a I think a blast from the past to a degree. A player getting signed mid-tournament and getting thrust straight into it, and on top of that, scoring, and then on top of that, against his former team. Quite a series of events. I joked at the top of the show, it's kind of like the player from Mighty Ducks 2, who, due to redistricting in the local hockey scene, the Mighty Ducks got a ringer.
No, you mixed up your Mighty Ducks movies. You're the worst with Mighty Ducks movies, Rob. You're terrible. You have no knowledge whatsoever. We tried to prime you for this, and you botched it. You fumbled the bag on the show. Okay.
They all blend together.
I'm not going to say things that people in our chat don't already know, because lots of these people will know Mighty Ducks. Maybe some people don't. Right? These are movies from the 90s after all. But in the original Mighty Ducks, you have Adam Banks, who lives in District 5, should be playing for the Ducks, but plays for the Hawks. That's not what he does get added to the Ducks later on. I guess you could argue for that. But that's also the Ducks didn't want him, really. They were like, yeah, okay, whatever, cake eater. We don't need you.
Oh, yeah,
Okay?
I remember that part.
Okay. But he does come in and make a difference, I suppose. But what we were saying before the show is that this is more like Mighty Ducks 2, when the Ducks go and play in the junior Goodwill games in California. And in that movie, they meet Russ, who plays roller hockey in LA. And they go out there and they're in order to regain their spirit as a team. Remember, you always have to have these beats in these movies. In order to regain their spirit as a team, they go play roller hockey and they meet Russ, and he's got the knuckle puck that just flummoxes goalkeepers, and you get the point of view from behind the puck as it flies through the air. It's incredible movie making stuff. And then they add him to their roster in the middle of this tournament, and you're like, wait, what? How is that even legal? That's kind of what João Pedro is for Chelsea.
I think that comment that was just on screen is great. Chelsea's not the Mighty Ducks, in its case, the Hawks. It's as if rewrite the movie and the favored team actually gets bolstered by a new signing.
If we're going to stick with Mighty Ducks 2, Mighty Ducks 1, they would be the Hawks. Mighty Ducks 2, they'd be Iceland. Okay, so Iceland are the bad guys in Mighty Ducks 2. They're the bad team, the guy with the slick back hair. Anyway, whole thing. Anyway, that's Kenan Thompson. That's who João Pedro is, I guess, in this situation. It does. Do you think that undermines the legitimacy of this tournament that Chelsea were able to add him the way that they did?
It's somewhat exciting, obviously, but like many things with the Club World Cup, it seemed last minute and a little bit bush league with rules and transfer windows and TV deals being kind of thrown together last minute style. It's for what's supposed to be the biggest club tournament ever, spectacular super event. It is a little bit thrown together, and the things you can pick apart the tournament, the venues, the pricing. This is kind of exciting. It's kind of fun that could happen, but you wouldn't say that being able to add a player mid-tournament would say it legitimizes it. I would say it kind of makes it seem a little bit backwater if you're able to just make up rules as you go.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to see they make a new special window for Trent Alexander-Arnold to join Real Madrid. He's had a contribution in this tournament, and now Pedro.
There was a 10-day window, the beginning of the tournament, or right before the tournament, beginning of June, I think is when that happened, so anybody who wanted to make a move to bring players in so that they could play for the Club World Cup. But and like, I don't know. Because it's new in the sense that this is a much bigger tournament than the old Club World Cup, and because the window is now open and you can make. I guess why not? I mean, I can't really think of a reason why this should not be allowed if everybody can do it. It's just that because they're Chelsea and because they can spend that kind of money on a proven Premier League player, it feels a little off. Fluminense is not dropping 30, 40, 50 million on anybody to bring them in last minute to help them win this game. They don't have it. But again, maybe that's also part of it too. It's the disparity of resources and then the challenge that is on the field. And Fluminense was okay in that game. They had their chances. They didn't take them. Obviously the moments that João Pedro took over and scored goals, those are great moments. It's obvious why Chelsea would want a player like that. Of course, you do get the subplot, as you mentioned, that Fluminense is João Pedro's original club, so he wasn't celebrating the way that you would normally celebrate in this kind of situation. And now Chelsea's through to a final. And I saw Daniel saying, can't see Chelsea winning the final, though. Now, obviously, we don't know who they're playing in the final because you and I are doing this show ahead of PSG and Real Madrid, which is taking place in Jersey. I will say that I've seen that Real Madrid got stuck in Miami because of some storms. Their flight didn't leave when it was supposed to leave. They were supposed to be in New York, New Jersey yesterday for media stuff ahead of the semifinal. I don't know if that's going to affect them, but this does just bring up that issue that we're seeing with this Club World Cup, Rob, which is probably going to be a thing next year in the World Cup that's coming to America. And that's weather. That's the heat. That's the thunderstorms. That's the flights that get delayed. It's the breaks during games. It's Enzo Maresca not being able to shut up about training. He can't train because it's too hot. I mean, I will say, and I don't know what it was like in New Jersey. I don't know what it's like in Philly, but down here in DC, it is oppressive. The humidity is oppressive. You can barely do anything. So I kind of feel, but then again, that's the whole thing. Like, why are we doing this tournament here? And then you throw in the fact that Gianni Infantino and FIFA announced yesterday that they have an office that they're opening in New York. Guess where that office is going to be? What building do you think that office would be in, Rob?
I'm guessing it's not the UN headquarters. I'm guessing it's not like a UNICEF type building or anything like that. I would guess it starts with T and might end in a P.
You might be right. It's the Trump Tower, and they're putting an office in the Trump Tower. Is FIFA? I mean, just cozying up, right, to Donald Trump and this administration, and the way things are going politically in this country, and the amount of control that Donald Trump is trying to exert over every aspect of American life makes a lot of us uncomfortable. It certainly makes me uncomfortable, and I don't know that I like the idea of the world coming here to celebrate, especially considering that there could be some issues with people traveling to the United States. And if you ever thought, hey, maybe FIFA will pull out, maybe this will be something that's a bridge too far for them, the way that Trump is handling himself and the way that his administration is acting in authoritarian ways. No, that's not it at all. Gianni Infantino will never meet a dictator, an authoritarian leader, a strongman president that he does not like, because he knows I can cozy up, ask them for things, and they will be able to do them for me, get me paid.
Yeah, that news about the new office being in Trump Tower would pretty much sign, seal, deliver all that ink and thought that was wasted into, can the World Cup be taken away from the USA? No way, bro. No way.
Nope.
It's happening.
Nope. Now, I will say a last thing on this. So Angus is saying FIFA coziness to a dictatorship is not new. Absolutely. We know that. That is history. Chris, nothing is a bridge too far for the almighty dollar when it comes to FIFA. Absolutely true. The only thing that is different maybe, and again, let's not do this exceptionalism thing like, oh, we're America, we're different. The Russia World Cup and the Qatari World Cup, more so the Russian World Cup than the Qatari World Cup, although both had their problems, right? Both were problematic in ways we talked about as American soccer fans. In the case of Russia, it was kind of like, we have all these rules, we're controlling of everything. Oh, but the world is coming. Let's just open everything up. And everybody, hey, just come over for a little while and see how awesome Russia is. We're putting on a show. That's typically what authoritarian leaders will do. I don't know. It doesn't seem that we're trending towards Trump and his administration, and let's say it clearly, Stephen Miller, are going to be like, yeah, let's relax all the rules that we just put in place. Let's not cancel visas. Let's make it simpler for people to come here. That's not what they want from a policy perspective. So how will it play in 2026?
Yeah, unfortunate times. We can't focus on the game this afternoon, Real Madrid PSG. I mean, Mbappe playing his old team, but we talk about those other things, unfortunately. That's scheduled to be played this afternoon. Long ball number 3 here this morning. The U.S. Open Cup here on home soil is at the quarterfinal stage. All MLS teams at this point. A bit of a contentious one. San Jose, Austin went to penalties. Bruce Arena not so happy about a yellow that looked like a red card offense.
Looked like a red card offense. Obviously, the other story here is that Brendan Vasquez went down with a non-contact injury, and they're waiting on an MRI in Austin, so that is not great. I mean, the Open Cup kind of snuck up on a lot of us, right? I mean, this is a very busy summer that we've witnessed. I was very focused on the Gold Cup. That is now over, and there's going to be a natural letdown. And we go from, the Gold Cup and the United States loses to Mexico to, wait, hold on. Wait, the quarterfinals of the Open Cup are happening now? Okay. Let me pay attention to that. Let me give that some love, because obviously we do support the U.S. Open Cup here on Morning Kickaround, and it's been part of my career over the years to talk about the Open Cup. Minnesota beating Chicago after extra time. It took 2 goals from Yeboah or Kelvin Yeboah, and get my Yeboah's wrong. Kelvin Yeboah to win that game for them. There was a red card in that match not as well. There was a red card in that match to Omar Gonzalez in the 25th minute, which really hurt Chicago's chances of getting through. Again, Austin going through. Minnesota, I'm trying to remember my history, Rob. Maybe you have this in your brain. Minnesota's never won an Open Cup. Right? They've never been in a final of an Open Cup. Don't believe that to be the case. Maybe they've been in a final. Somebody can give me some history there if I'm not remembering that correctly. I definitely think Austin aiming for their first Open Cup title. I think that would be a big deal for them. They're struggling in the league. This is one of those things where we don't yet, as American soccer fans, think of the Open Cup at the same level as maybe the FA Cup, where it sort of saves your season if you win that trophy. I mean, think about Crystal Palace, right? 2019. See, this is why I didn't trust myself. Chris is saying Minnesota United 2019 Open Cup. That makes sense. Crystal Palace, they didn't have a Premier League season to write home about, but they did win a trophy, and it was a remarkable achievement for that club, considering they had never won that trophy. They never won any trophy, as far as I'm remembering. So if there's and these teams don't have that history, of course, in American soccer, but maybe somebody is looking at their first Open Cup title.
So the today's games, the other half of the Open Cup quarterfinals, tonight is Philly versus Red Bulls at 7 Eastern, and in Nashville versus DC United at 9 Eastern. Very Eastern-centric here. Who of those teams will be meeting Minnesota and Austin, do we think?
Oh, man. You want me to handicap these games? I mean, it kind of depends on what the lineups look like. Philadelphia has slid just a bit in Major League Soccer play. Not so much that I think you worry about making the playoffs or anything, but they were in first and now they're in third, and there's something to that. We'll see. The Red Bulls, they're kind of a conundrum. Like, what are they? Where are they right now? They've had 3 draws in a row in the league. I would shade it to Philly because that game's at Subaru Park, and home field advantage does matter. I don't know what the showing will be from the fans in Chester tonight. And then Nashville's got DC United. DC United's not a good team. They haven't been at any point this year. And Nashville is a team challenging for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Are they unbeatable? No, clearly not. I mean, it took a very late goal from Henny Mukhtar from the penalty spot for them to beat Philly in their last MLS game. And they did that, but they did do that with down a man for the last half hour. So I would shade it to Nashville, and I would shade it to Philly, and we'll see.
Some Cup magic tonight, perhaps. Thank you for tuning in if you're watching this right now. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button just under the window that we're in here, do so now. It doesn't cost you a darn thing. And it helps support the channel. And this show, Morning Kickaround, we're attempting to become the town square of the American soccer conversation. So more people on board, the better. If you want to take your support of Morning Kickaround up a notch, $3.99 a month is all it costs you to become an MK Ultra member of the channel. You get access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server, which has some great conversation threads of local soccer, MLS, and the international game and the national teams. Some great conversations happening on the Morning Kickaround Discord server. You can also support on coffee.com/Morning Kickaround. We got some specific goals for some things that we're really trying to do, even an on-site broadcast in 2026. Follow along on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. And one last note, if you like podcasts, you can find Morning Kickaround on your favorite podcast platform. Just look for Morning Kickaround. We are going to come back and talk about USL1 AV Alta in just a sec. We're going to get to know our district of Antelope Valley, California, here on Morning Kickaround. This is Get to Know Your District here on Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. On the far side of the screen is Jason Davis, but we are very pleased to welcome founder and president of AV Alta, new team this year to Antelope Valley, California. Welcome, John. Thank you for joining us here on Get to Know Your District here on Morning Kickaround.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome to get you on the show, John. And obviously your team has made some waves in their first year. I mean, that Open Cup run was very fun. We obviously were following along with some of the dramatics. I think a lot of people are sort of like, oh, there's a place called Antelope Valley. Where is that? Give us a sense of why this is a place that needed a soccer team and what you guys are doing there in California.
Yeah, thanks so much. And that's exactly right. It is a place that needed a soccer team. And I think you could say that about another couple hundred markets in this country, I think, which is where the real growth is going to be. And it's going to be so much fun at these, not of Division I level. Antelope Valley is in Los Angeles County, which is a little known fact, the northernmost part of LA County. LA County is 70 miles across. And it's what we refer to as the high desert. So it's about 2,500 feet altitude. It's a desert. It's cold at night. It's hot in the day. This is a place that was historically aerospace and still is aerospace, but it's a little bit overlooked and a little bit forsaken by LA. And frankly, a little bit, LA kind of looks down their nose at the Antelope Valley. However, 500,000 people, 50% Latino, no professional sports of any kind, no college sports of any kind, and huge market for soccer, tons of talent that nobody's scouting. And they had an empty minor league baseball stadium. And so my pitch to the city was convert the stadium to soccer specific, and I'll bring a team. And they said, okay.
Oh, that's pretty incredible. And just for the viewers' knowledge, you've hit the ground running on the field. You've been undefeated since the beginning of May. So pretty incredible to be racking up the wins and the results such as that. But kind of tell us, how long of a lead-in was this to get here to 2025?
854 days.
So you're aware of it.
I sent an email cold to the Parks and Recs Department of City of Lancaster, California. So the Antelope Valley is Lancaster and Palmdale. Those are the two big cities. But then the whole surrounding area is about 500,000. I sent an email cold to the City of Lancaster on October 22nd, 2022. And we broke ground we broke ground in August of 24, and we kicked off March 18th, 25. Opened the stadium and played our first US Open Cup game. And then we had our first inaugural home match in League One on April 5th. So incredible speed, and credit to the City of Lancaster, which is unique in every respect, but they're very pro-business. They're very pro-community. And the mayor was on board, and they just got this thing done. It's pretty incredible story, actually.
Now, John, I think this is a classic example, like a prototypical example of why USL thought there was room for another league below their championship level, below the second division level. And we can maybe talk about your ambitions and what AV Alta can be in the future here in a moment. But I would assume that if there was no USL League One, there are other options, and I'm sure that those came up too. But this seems like a perfect place for a market of this size, brand new team, opportunity to kind of play high level professional soccer without doing, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of leap.
That's exactly right. And I think, look, even though, everybody quotes $500 million for San Diego and MLS. But even the reported, the published fees for Division II USL Championship, 15-20 million. That's a big bite, just to get in, right? And that's just to get in the door. And then you got to find a stadium situation that works, which is key, and everything, and all the operating expenses. So, there's like 6 people left in the country who could do 500 million. And then, there's actually a very small group of people that could do 15-20 million. So League One is a much lower entry point, and it just creates so much opportunity. And look, it's a real league. It's full-grown men, professionals playing to win. We're nobody's farm team. We're not developing players for anybody else. We're developing for ourselves so we can sell to other people. And it's just to me, it's a pure football league, and it was so much potential. Now we knew Pro Rel was coming, but it wasn't as defined as it is now. And so that's just pure upside for us.
That's a great note. I love that. And I know a lot of viewers like the developing players for your own right, for your own community, for your own club, rather than hopefully they do well and we send them off to some other place out of town. So you are in second place in the league in your very first season, just a couple points off the very top spot. So tell us about your player pool. Are they local talent?
Well, we do have quite a bit of local talent that we're developing in our academy. We've gotten some guys on the field, getting some minutes for some young guys. That's going to take time, and so we really took advantage of the 7 internationals, which add huge depth and quality that you really have to have. But I would back up a little bit and say, really, it's the team. So Nehemiah Blanco, who's our general manager, came from Central Valley Fuego. He's just done an incredible job. Our head coach, Brian Claben, whom I think is a genius and overlooked. And there's a whole story about him that I could write a book on someday. I think
he's got some history, John.
Yeah.
He's got some history.
Yeah.
His brother is not a fan of mine. I'll just put that out there, but let's keep going.
Yeah. I just think he's an extraordinary guy. And I think he's just done an amazing job. And he put this team together along with our sporting director, Zaki Tahari, who's playing a little bit of money ball in the background. And they just put a hell of a squad together. And they, Brian has just been named coach of the week. It's just a really unique story, but Brian has been a well-kept secret, but he won't be anymore.
I want to ask you about so you identified this community. You've got the stadium sort of ready to go. I mean, obviously you're making it a soccer specific venue, which I am curious about that process. But when we talk to guys who have started, people who have started new clubs, I'm always curious about the stuff that like we talked to Michael Hitchcock about his amateur teams, but they're amateur teams that are marketed. So there's this thought process that goes into how do you image the team, what's the approach, and he talked a lot about connecting locally. And I'm curious, when you were conceiving of AV Alta, were you thinking beyond the Antelope Valley, or was this very specific about connecting to that community? Did you need to think beyond? Did you need to think globally or regionally or anything beyond just your location?
No, I was pretty local in my approach, and I think that's the key. So again, you have a community that's overlooked and a little bit disrespected, and they don't have anything of their own, right? And so I had one potential investor say that you have to put Los Angeles in the name of the club. And I'm like, no, man, you're missing the entire point. Like, that is absolutely the wrong approach. This is all about Antelope Valley. I had a designer that said, you've got to design your jersey so it'll sell internationally. And I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, I got to sell tickets is what I have to do. And nobody in England is buying a ticket. So now our logo is really cool, and we've gotten some international sales and stuff, but it's de minimis, right? So it's all about the AV. We did focus groups, and we asked them what was important, and they told us, and we incorporated all of that imagery and symbolism into the name and the logo and the colors. You guys know Portland, Maine has just done an extraordinary job, in an extraordinary market. But for those guys, we would be leading the league in every category of revenue and ticket sales and merch, and pisses me off that I'm always second place to them. But they're great, and they're great guys too, which makes it even worse, right? So I think we nailed it. If you include Bakersfield, Hesperia, Victorville, and Santa Clarita, there's 1.3 million people in our market. Now 500,000 are in the Antelope Valley proper. But the high desert of California and a little bit of the Central Valley is 1.3 million people. And ultimately, I'd like to see Bakersfield and Victorville get a team. I'd like to see Santa Clarita get a team. But for now, that's our market. It's plenty big enough. And so if someone wants to drive it from LA, God bless. But that's not the market.
So it seems like the highlight that kind of put AV Alta on my radar, my first eyes on, was there's some incredible scenes at your Open Cup run. So that's the standout memory for me from afar. What has been the best moment so far, and what was your original year one goal?
Yeah, so crazy going to FC Dallas. I've seen that stadium on TV a trillion times. It's much cooler in person, by the way. And hell, we were in that game. I mean, it was 1-1, I think, at halftime. That was incredible. Beating Orange County, they did a really funny thing about like, where's Lancaster, and now they know where Lancaster is. Beating LAFC 2, we tied Oakland in the Jägermeister Cup, but we beat them in penalty. If you ask anybody who was there, we beat them in penalty kicks. And just all of it, just from the day we launched our brand, we had 2,000 people on Main Street watching us, show a 3-minute video about their brand. Sold out the inaugural 5,400. But my goals for year one was I'm very much focused on the business side, and I'm letting Nini and Brian really run the football side, and Zachy. But my goal for year was, I just said, look, guys, just win at home. Just win at home. And they've done that, but now they're winning on the road, and they're beating bigger teams. And we lost to Sacramento 1-0. We lost to Las Vegas 2-1. We're punching way above our weight. For me, that's just icing on the cake, right? Because my whole thing is like, look, we have to sell tickets when we're losing. So, and someday we'll have a bad season. So, to sell tickets when we're winning, that just makes our job easier.
Obviously, having a winning season in your first year is a nice platform for all of those things. We obviously have to ask you, John, because this is the regular conversation now when it comes to USL. It's about the intent to start a first division league. It's about the intent to bring promotion and relegation. And while I know there are lots of things for the league to get done between now and those things being realized, I'm curious what your thoughts are about where AV Alta fits into all of that.
Well, I think we can definitely, with all due respect to the championship, and those guys were fantastic in terms of voting for Pro Rel, because they had to take a leap of faith that it would be good for them, even though if you look at it, specifically, it may not be good for them in the short run, right? But where are we going with that one? Sorry.
Promotion and relegation for you.
Pro Rel, look, it's so different in the US, right? Because if you get promoted in England, you get all this money, and it's pretty obvious goal. For us, it would be more about pride and slow, steady growth. And there's a leap of faith that if we get promoted, there'll be money, that we'll find some money there, because we'll have to spend more on players. It's not an obvious economic win, but it's a moral victory for sure. And then once you put someone in a competition of, well, we want to win the competition, and if we win the competition, we get promoted, that can't be a bad thing. Like, the money will come somehow, some way. But really, I didn't start out saying, oh, I'm going to get promoted and I'm going to get to the first division and I'm going to buy 5 more clubs and I'm going to be multi-platform. I didn't think like that. I just thought, like, this is a community that needed a team. We have to be here forever, right? So we have to find a long-term sustainable business model, which I think we found mostly through our stadium economics. And so again, Pro Rel is more like, hey, that's fantastic and it's great for the league. But it wasn't really, I didn't get into saying, hey, I'm going to promote this team up and be a first division team.
Yeah, you are in second place in USL 1, so I'm not quite sure. Obviously, it's not set up yet how many teams would go up with that. If it locked in tomorrow, would AV Alta be ready to make that jump?
We would absolutely be ready. I mean, on the field, no question, we're ready. I'm just a fan of our team. I love watching us play. I don't know if you guys have really watched the match, but the way we possess the ball is just crazy, and the skill level. And people say, well, you can't play like that unless you have the skill. I mean, we don't have the players that Barcelona has, but we're playing like that. I don't know. We'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Interesting, though, too, the long season runs all the way until the end of October. And funnily enough, you mentioned Portland Hearts of Pine. That's your final opponent of the season.
Yeah, they're great. They tied us at home. Well, we went back there and beat them 2-0 on the road, which was that was kind of a signature win for us. But they've got they have all the right pieces in place, and I think, and as I think we do, their market's incredible. The way that market's responded, we're doing extremely well. We're averaging 4,400 a game. That's going to go up, I think. But it's incredible what they're doing with the fan support that they have.
John, let me ask you a pretty wonky question. And we had somebody in the chat earlier saying, the number of teams being added to League One. He says, I hope they can reach regionalization eventually. Now, obviously, I think just because of the size of our country, it makes a lot of sense to think regionally in terms of how things are organized. I imagine from a financial perspective, that would be a big thing for a club like AV Alta. I mean, you're talking about playing Portland Hearts of Pine. That is a very long trip for you, and I'm sure costs quite a bit of money. So, is that something you think is important? Because as great as it is to have a third division like USL League One spread out all over the country with those kind of revenues makes it difficult.
Yeah, it's immensely important. Look, there's rumored to be 7 teams joining the league next year, would get us to 21. And the more teams, we have, the more likely we are to regionalize. We're still very light on the West, and the West is big, right? So like we're getting Boise, Idaho, that's still a 3-hour flight. So regionalization is a particular challenge for us. It's going to be a while before, even if they go east-west, we're still going to do a ton of travel. So we have to bite the bullet on that for the foreseeable future. The great thing about the Jägermeister Cup and the U.S. Open Cup is we got to play Orange County, Monterey, Sacramento, Oakland, and Las Vegas in our inaugural year, and that helped a lot. And those were, with the exception of the U.S. Open Cup, those Jägermeister Cups, they kind of fit into your regular schedule. It'll be completely different next year with all these new teams, but just being able to play those regional teams in Division II has been a huge win for us.
One question I wanted to ask you. You mentioned training. You guys are located out in the desert there, very hot in the day, cold at night. In the Club World Cup, some of the coaches complaining about not being able to train due to the conditions. So what advice would you have for them?
For those guys, they're not going to take advice from me. So a couple things about our stadium, it's fully converted now. It's beautiful. The city did an amazing job. I mean, it's a proper football ground. You'd have to see it to believe it, the way we squared it off and made it into a football stadium. We're the principal tenant. We control the schedule. We have the front office. We're there 365 a year. We have home clubhouse, away clubhouse. We train there in the morning, and we play at night. So we all of our games are Saturday night, 7:30. And then we kick off at 8:00 in the summer. So right now we don't even kick off until 8 p.m. For all those reasons. And when the sun goes down, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's like 85 degrees and no humidity, and it's just beautiful night. So we're really fortunate with our stadium situation. It is unique, and it's absolutely key. If we didn't have the economics that we have on this stadium, I just don't know how you could. I don't know how you could get it done unless you're really, really wealthy and didn't mind losing money.
Seems to be the thing that trips up so many clubs. And, John, I've been doing this long enough that surrounding me in my studio here are many a club that no longer exists. And I, that is always breaks my heart. So it seems like you guys are on an incredible path. If the stadium is working for you, that is such a big deal. I'm very happy to have AV Alta added to this. I keep thinking of one more question, so I'm going to ask you one more question because Robert mentioned the climate and the heat and the there has been some talk about a calendar shift, maybe for Major League Soccer. American soccer is always run on the calendar that we use now for the most part. I know USL has launched a women's league that's doing it differently. Do you have any opinions about the calendar that we follow and whether it would be good or bad for clubs like yours?
Yeah, in the abstract, I would like it because I think that every time the American game gets more aligned with the global game, it's good. It works. If you go all the way back to the first MLS season when they're doing goofy shootouts and all this stuff, and the more you align with the global game, the better. However, we don't, League One, USL, I don't think we have the facilities to do that. So all the weather challenges that MLS has, but they're now playing in these $500 million palaces that have heated fields and covers and everything else. We don't have that in the USL. It's freaking cold in Lancaster in the winter. I mean, it's in the 30s at night, and I don't think it would be good for us. I really don't. And it's funny, the league in our first season, I kind of feel like they put all of our games in the spring and fall, and our summer was kind of light. And I got to say to the league, like, no, we want to play in the summer,
right?
Because we kick off at 8 p.m., sun goes down, it's fantastic. So, as a theoretical matter, I'd love to align with a global calendar, but as a practical matter, it wouldn't work for us.
There you go.
Well, John Smelzer, founder and president of AV Alta, thank you for joining us and helping us put Lancaster, California onto the map here on Get to Know Your District.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I'll send you, Jason, a scarf, and it won't go away. I promise you.
That's amazing. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
If you're tuned in now, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button, do so now. The more people that are subscribed, the richer this channel gets to give us more resources to be able to bring on guests like John and various other ones. If you want to look into our catalog, plenty of folks from teams across the country we've put onto the map. So hit subscribe now. And if you want to take your support up a notch, $3.99 a month makes you an MK Ultra. You get access to the Discord server, early access to videos, bonus content, which we might be making some today. And then you can also follow along on social media at Kickaround, X, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. And there's another way to support fiscally. It is ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. We got some specific targets to hit there with our fundraising. And one last note, if you like podcasts, Morning Kickaround is a podcast. Search for Morning Kickaround on your favorite audio platform. We will catch our breath, come right back with one more segment on of the day, one more dip into American soccer being weird here on Wednesday's Morning Kickaround. Hello, welcome into another installment of American Soccer is Weird here on Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason. A fresh press release came out yesterday from United States Soccer Federation, a strategic partnership with TST, or known as the Soccer Tournament. Interesting development here with TST. If you're not familiar, it's a 7v7 with a $1 million cash prize. And it's going for a couple years and kind of hit some popularity with popular YouTuber. What's his name? Losing it now.
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee, that guy. He has kind of brought some heat to it. But United States Soccer Federation seeing a little bit of money, energy, and attention going to the tournament, and they want to get in on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I am not a TST guy. I don't know. I'm. It's not like I'm sitting here saying you're wrong if you like it. Like it, I guess. I cannot connect with it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is that it's missing that I need to feel engaged with it. I think it feels, man, I don't even know. Maybe the things that I care most about in sports, identifying with the team, adopting that team, connecting with that team, following that team, that doesn't exist in the TST. Like, I don't know how to be a fan of this. I guess if you're just watching for some high energy soccer in a smaller, environment, 7v7 and all of that, if you're just looking for those things, okay, I guess I don't see that as when I think about what I want for soccer, I want to see a guy with a 40-yard switch, a guy with an incredible first touch, bring it down, cut inside, hit a right-footed curler I want to see all that. And this doesn't deliver that for me, even though it can deliver incredible goals. I'm not saying it can't. It's also why it's really hard for me to vibe with indoor soccer, Rob, which does have teams. I could adopt one. I have indoor soccer jerseys hanging up right next to me because people have handed me them over the years. But I can't get myself to be like, I want to watch some indoor soccer. I think if you're there, it's different. And maybe that's true of TST too. But in terms of why U.S. Soccer would want to latch onto this, I completely understand it. It may not be for me, but it's for enough people. Apparently 50,000 people went and watched the tournament last month in North Carolina. Why wouldn't you, as U.S. Soccer, want to attach yourself to that? Even if it's not the same version of soccer that we think about U.S. Soccer should care about most, it is soccer. And U.S. Soccer is involved in beach soccer. They're involved in futsal. And all this is sort of a twist on those kind of different versions of the game.
I think it's interesting. You said you're a little bit negative. It's not the pure form, but I guess I do skew positive on it because I was a big fan of And One back in the day and kind of that informal street nature. And I think the fact that it's like a cash prize is alluring because it's like not this super structured thing. It's like people just like there for the money, like mercenary stuff. Like, let's have some fun and play for some cash. And it's bringing excitement when a lot of the time, some people that aren't within the soccer bubble, they might flip on to see a random MLS game or this or that. And it's very clean and very regimented and not sort of outside of the box things happen. In this tournament, you got, Pat McAfee like jumping around doing crazy stuff. And then you have former pros like Patrice Evra, who's a character in his own right, kind of doing some wacky things. And then they have the different rules. Look, and then just seeing people like right on the sidelines, like cheering, rushing the field and celebrations, like the informal nature of it. I can understand the excitement for them.
You like that. I don't know why. I don't. I think this is ridiculous. I think the Kings League is ridiculous. I think, again, indoor soccer is not ridiculous. I respect its history, especially in this country, but it's not for me. Like, I can't, I don't know. Maybe I'm too purist, and I'm not even telling people don't care about this. This is dumb. Go watch it. Go enjoy it, I guess. And maybe I need to be pulled along. And by the way, I recognize too that I sound like a non-soccer fan who refuses to watch soccer because it's boring or because there's not enough goals, or whatever it is that Americans who don't like soccer will say about our sport. And then I'm instead of being the person who is like, come along, it's great, I'm sitting there saying, I don't like this. This isn't my version. I'm wagging my finger at this. Nate says the Kings League is pure entertainment. It's ridiculous to me. They're pulling out like random cards and changing the rules mid-game. Like, I don't understand what's happening.
Is it the Kings League where they have that like the giant foam dice thing fall on, and there's like a random thing happens depending on what the dice says?
That's who's involved in that?
I think that's PK.
Gerard Piqué. That's exactly right. Gerard Piqué. They do it in like a warehouse somewhere in Spain, and it's like a video game, and it's really just for streaming. Like, it's just made. It's sort of like if you go on TikTok, and sometimes I'm not on 10 minutes on TikTok in years, but sometimes you come across those guys who just play wiffle ball 24/7, and thousands upon thousands of people are watching these guys play wiffle ball in their backyard. Now, they built like a mini Fenway Park or whatever, and it looks cool, but
it does.
Like, what are you watching that for? Like, what are you getting out of that? I guess it's entertainment, and that's what this is. And I guess as more people in an influencer culture and as more clubs in a bid to grab attention outside of their normal seasons, because that's what they got to do to stay competitive, I guess this is going to grow. And if U.S. soccer benefits from this, sure. You maybe just initially your reaction was, is this U.S. soccer trying to get in on the money that's available for TST? And I guess you could be cynical and view it that way. But I guess, I don't know, this is the way it reads. This unique partnership is focused on leveraging the full breadth of U.S. soccer's capabilities, from technical expertise and player and team relationships to strategic insights and meaningful partnerships to expand the event's reach and relevance. It also aims to spotlight alternative soccer formats that promote lifelong participation and fandom, ensuring more people fall in love with the game, stay connected to it for the long term, and ultimately help fuel the growth at every level of the sport. And again, who am I to say you're wrong for liking this, especially if it turns somebody who wouldn't have otherwise been a soccer fan into a soccer fan?
Yeah, I mean, anything to kind of like broaden the barn or widen the tent poles, I think, is a political term there. But interesting to see that the USSF joined a partnership rather than to quash it, say that they didn't qualify for this regulation or that regulation.
Well, it is outside of U.S. soccer's purview, right? And if you are going to be cynical again, you could see this as, well, U.S. soccer was left out of this. This is a phenomenon of soccer growth in America that they didn't have a hand in. And so, hey, that's not right. We're U.S. soccer. We should be involved in everything. And, again, you can see it both ways. You can certainly see it as a net benefit to soccer in America, and therefore U.S. soccer is right to be involved, because their job is to foster the growth of the game in the United States. And you could also view it as, they feel like they have a right to be part of everything, and how dare they put their grubby hands on TST?
Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. It definitely, with this strategic partnership, it definitely kind of encourages the fact that this TST will continue to be a thing. Obviously, they've had some success. It doesn't look like it's on its last legs by any means. It's still growing, if anything, but probably with USSF backing it or partnering up, the TST will continue to endure and do these events. One of the other things I kind of skipped over, novelty factor is also part of it. You see like there's like, indoor guys, and there's some random street ballers, and then there's teams of like retired players, and just kind of that mishmash, like almost like a Jean-Claude Van Damme, like an illegal kung fu tournament over in Malaysia or something. And they're all doing their different things, and they bring their different styles and coming from a whole lot of different places. So it's interesting. We'll see how that plays out. But USSF partnering up with TST.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that TST is still going strong 15 years from now. But maybe it does become an integral part, like an annual event that captures attention and drives us forward. And, it's actually been so popular that I think I read that they're trying to start something over in Europe along the same lines, a small-sided tournament over there. I can't remember what that was called, but that and you if you are sort of a purist and traditionalist like I tend to be when it comes to sports, that might bother you, because then we get into that conversation of Americanizing everything. And we as American soccer fans have a weird relationship with Americanizing soccer. As as John Smelzer was saying, like, we kind of want to align with the rest of the world because that would benefit the game here. We think that's the right way to do it. But man, the idea that the rest of the world would copy what we're doing and it feels American, that gets into weird situations.
Yeah, it's not often that what's happening on this side of the Atlantic is mirrored or parroted on the other side all too often. We'll see how that plays out. Let's have the conversation continue. What do you think of the TST and USSF partnership? Weird, bad, good, or otherwise? Fill in the comments below and keep the conversation on these topics we've presented today going. A place where those conversations keep going is the Morning Kickaround Discord server. And how do you gain access to the Discord server, Jason?
You become an MK Ultra. You sign up as a member of the channel, and maybe you decide to join the group of people that have given us money on coffee.com. That's another way to get access to the Discord. Coffee is the one-time deal. You don't have to be recurring. If you become a member, obviously you're going to keep getting charged month in and month out unless you cancel. And if you join the Discord, probably not going to kick you out. Just a little secret, little hack. Probably not going to kick you out if you stop being a paying member. We just want to build the community. So sign up for that.
Yeah, thank you to all the MK Ultras who've already become a member of the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel and everyone on Ko-Fi. And then thank you for everyone who's joining in and throwing a lot of conversation in there as well. Thank you for tuning in today. If you want to follow us along on social media, there it is on screen at Morning Kickaround on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. You can find us as a podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Morning Kickaround. Any other final notes before we depart here on our Wednesday show?
Well, I think we should wrap this up and hit the Friends Peck and Power Crow or whatever they call that. And then we'll come back for a little special extended edition of Morning Kickaround, responding to some things that we've brought up on the show recently and some response out there in American soccer land.
All right, guys, keep tuned in for that. But this episode is over. So until next time, everybody, enjoy your soccer.